Sorry, gentlemen, we're gonna keep this show on the road here. It is 7:06. Thank you everyone for your patience. I'm going to call the meeting to order of our regular council meeting for the town of Superior with roll call. Councilmember Byrd. Here. Councilmember Armitage.
Here.
Councilmember Lopez. Here. Councilmember Navarrete. Here. Councilmember Aguilar.
Here.
And I am present. We have not heard from the vice mayor, but the line is on in case he does decide to, he is able to join us. If everyone would please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation by Councilmember Armitage, along with moments of silence for our former police chief, Lou DiGirolamo, and two teachers who recently passed, former teachers, Mrs. Henrietta Alvarez and Mr. Louis Navarro. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we come before your throne of grace and just thank you for this opportunity to gather, Lord, as the leaders of the town. Lord, things are going to be brought up tonight in this place that affect the lives of people. So we ask that you give us wisdom and discernment to be able, Lord, to make the decisions that would benefit and increase this town. We thank you, Lord, that you love this town and you've given many blessings. You've poured out many blessings upon this place. And Lord, we just thank you for your love and the opportunity now to serve this community and to serve you, Lord. So we ask your presence in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, we're going to move along to our staff reports. We have no special presentations tonight. Again, we did put our flags at half-staff in honor of Chief Lou, and we did have two teachers that I know probably taught a few of us on the dais here, Mrs. Alvarez and Mr. Louis Navarro, and we really appreciate our teachers in our community. Staff reports, I want to give congratulations to Councilmember Lopez. We were all at the League of Cities and Towns conference at the end of August. Lots of really great learning and networking. We were able to present our community. But Olga was awarded her 20 years of service from the League. She has been an elected official for 20 years. She has seen the ups and the downs, and we really appreciate her service. And we wish she'd be with us for another, 4, 6, 8, 10, it's kind of in those.
I'm ready to retire.
I can't help but continue to encourage. But we really appreciate her service to the community, and it's great that the League recognizes her with all of her peers. There's one member of the League who has been serving his community, I think it was 38 years, and that's Mayor Honea out of Marana. And he's been either on the council or the mayor. That's a very, very long time to be there. So thank you again, Olga. Some interesting things that have happened. You may have seen in the news that the Arizona Department of Revenue deposited the Pinal County RTA funding into the Pinal County Treasurer's account in a in a holding account, a savings account, I guess you could say. But they also did this with the instruction that it would be up to the Pinal RTA and Pinal County to determine how the money gets back to the taxpayers. And I want everybody to understand, because it's those of you that consumed a product or purchased a product, it's actually the taxpayer, but the state views the person who paid the taxes was actually the corporation, the Walmarts, the Home Depots, the Amazons, and not to mention the small businesses that you go into your community and you pay sales taxes on. And so they really left the RTA in a very unique situation, because we're going to have to navigate this, and our friends at the Goldwater Institute have already started up with a media campaign and outreach saying that we have stolen taxpayer dollars. And I want to be very clear for anybody who's hearing this. Pinal County, the RTA did not steal anybody's taxpayer dollars. And some of this navigation began under Governor Ducey's administration, where they just kind of didn't do anything when the Supreme Court ruled against us. And so as you all know, when we've talked about the RTA for Superior and voters, and our voters have supported it, each time it's went to the vote of the people, we would be receiving money that helps us with our roads. It's some of the only avenues for us to receive additional funding. So if you hear something about this, really appreciate that you let us know, because it's gonna be a very unique situation, because Pinal County is also going off after the regular excise tax, which is kind of like the pothole tax this year for an election. So there's a lot of things going on. I just want to share with all of you, our department heads and our residents, council, please ask questions, because this, we saw a press release is kind of a little bit accusational, and none of that is happening, and we're all working through it. So thank you to Andrea and Pinal County and Chairman McFarland out of Casa Grande, who's having to lead that. I'm still the vice chair of the RTA, so I'm on top of it, but there's a lot of things going on. Council, on the dais, you will see the invitation for the State of the Town on October the 5th. We've left you a few extras to give to family and friends. We do have a digital one that we will get out to you to also share, but we've already got several RSVPs. Rebuild's done an amazing job gathering sponsors, and I think the event is turning out to be, is coming out very nicely. We had the last review of the program this afternoon, and it's really quite spectacular. We should all be proud of that work. Lots of moving parts and pieces. The lobbyists report that they're thinking maybe the Ninth Circuit Court is going to rule sometime in September. There's no guarantees. We've been saying that for a long time. We've had lots of engagement with a variety of outlets and the media to tell our story about why the EIS needs to go through. So lots of things there. I don't have any other updates at this time. It was kind of nice to have August off with no meetings, but I was very busy anyways. Todd, do you have anything else to include?
Just some very unexciting news that we had a server upgrade, and it took pretty much most of our computer systems down in the last couple of weeks. We finally got back up, and the billing went out today. If you see anybody complaining they didn't get their bill, that's why. It was a server upgrade went slightly wrong.
Okay, and I know Todd and the police chief have been sending out a variety of updates, and department heads, so appreciate all that staff does to keep everyone informed. I'm going to move along to the consent agenda. As everybody knows, if there's an item on the consent agenda you'd like to be pulled after I read the consent agenda, I'd ask that you please bring that item up. So I'm going to start now. We have a very lengthy consent agenda item: approval of minutes of the town council meeting from July 13th, 2023. Approval of minutes of the special town council meeting on July 17th, 2023. Approval of minutes of special town council meeting on August 14th, 2023. Approval of memorandum of understanding between Pinal County and the town of Superior concerning opioid settlement funds. Approval of the revised abandonment request form APP-2-2023. It is an updated version of the original form. Approval of GoGov and Town of Superior AZ contract for citizen notification and alerts. Approval of temporary staging area agreement between Southwest Gas Corporation and the Town of Superior. Approval of Superior Public Library Policy Handbook prepared by Tony V. Solis, our library director. Number 9, approval of agreement between PHI Health LLC, DBA, PHI Air Medical, and the Town of Superior for PHI Cares memberships for town memberships. Approval of Water Conservation Grant Fund, WGCF, FY 2024 Round 4. The amount requested is $140,026. This is a water conservation project. There are 2 sites within this project: the Coleman Alley GI site and the Stone Dip GI site. Approval of AmeriCorps National Civilian Community Corporations NCCC project concept form. Approval of the surplus auction list for public works vehicles. This is handled by Sierra Auction. Approval of administrative services contract between Central Arizona Governments, CAG, and the Town of Superior. Approval of sisterhood agreements between the City of Hasadas of the State of Sonora, Mexico, and of the United Mexican States, and the Town of Superior of the State of Arizona of the United States of America. Approval of telecommunications license and right-of-way agreement between WECOM LLC, DBA, WECOM Fiber, and the Town of Superior. Approval of Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control special event license for Danielle Marlowe Scott of Superior. Southwestern Arboretum for an event located at Boyce Thompson Arboretum, 37615 East Arboretum Way, Superior, Arizona, for October 21st, 2023, from 5 p.m. to 9:30. Approval of the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control Special Event License for Danielle Marlowe Scott, Superior Southwestern Arboretum, for an event located at the Boyce Thompson Arboretum, 37615 Arboretum Way, Superior, Arizona, on Sunday, November 5th, 2023, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Approval of Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control Special Event License for Richard Francis Cartier, Superior Chamber of Commerce, for an event, the Superior Home Tour, located at the Vestige Park, 240 Main Street, Superior, Arizona, on Saturday, January 27th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Sunday, January 28th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Approval of the Town of Superior alcohol beverage permit for Superior Chamber of Commerce for the Superior Home Tour, located at the Vestige Park, Saturday, January 27th, 2024, and Sunday, January 28th, 2024, from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Approval of Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control Special Event License for Richard Francis Cartier, Superior Chamber of Commerce, for an event, Superior Home Tour, located at the Magna Club, 34 Company Court, Superior, Arizona, on Saturday, January 27th, 2024, from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Approval of Town of Superior alcohol beverage permit for the Superior Chamber of Commerce for the Home Tour Community Dance, located at the Magna Club on January 27th, 2024, from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Approval of Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control Special Event License for Richard Francis Cartier, Superior Chamber of Commerce, for an event, Apache Leap Mining Festival, located at the Vestige Park, 240 Main Street, Superior, Arizona, on Friday, March 8th, 2024, from 2 p.m. to 1 a.m., Saturday, March 9th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m., Sunday, March 10th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Approval of Town of Superior alcohol beverage permit for Superior Chamber of Commerce for an event, Superior Mining Festival, located at the Vestige Park on Friday, March 8th, from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m., Saturday, March 9th, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m., Sunday, March 10th, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. Approval of Town of Superior alcohol beverage permit for Roseanne T. Marcus Inigus for a graduation party at the Magna Club on Saturday, December 16th, from 2 p.m. to 12 midnight. Approval of the Town of Superior alcohol beverage permit for Tabby Villaverde for a baby shower at the Magna Club on Saturday, November 25th, 2023, from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and the approval of the department reports. Council, is there a motion or anything anyone wishes to take off the agenda?
I'd like to take off the consent agenda item 8,
Okay.
which is the approval of the Superior Public Library Policy Handbook.
Mr. Cooper, I do understand he needs a motion and a second to do that, correct? Or can we just take it off? I just want to make sure I'm procedurally correct.
You can take it off and vote on that separately.
Okay, so council, then I need a motion. What I'd like to do first is we will remove item 8 from the consent agenda at the request of Councilmember Armitage. And I need a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 7 and 9 through 26, unless anybody wants anything else taken off the consent agenda.
I just have some questions on some of these alcohol beverage permits, and the times don't correlate with each other. Is that going to be any issues?
Ms. Cervantes, do we know if there's gonna be issues? There's questions on the timelines?
I think when I asked Mr. Cartier, it's because they're gonna be setting up the alcohol and stuff, getting ready at the park at a certain time, and they're not actually selling the alcohol to another time.
Okay, so they just have to have that in their permit, correct?
That's why he has the time, the state alcohol permits are the times he has to sell. But
Okay.
he's gonna have that alcohol in our parks earlier.
Okay, that's right. Okay, any other questions on the rest of the consent agenda items? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 7 and 9 through 26, and we will take item 8 off for discussion? There's a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Do we have a second? There's a second by Councilmember Byrd. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a request from Councilmember Armitage to have a discussion on the approval of the Superior Public Library Policy Handbook prepared by our Library Director, Mr. Solis. Councilmember Armitage, I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. Today, as I was going through the package for our meeting tonight, came, of course, the future policy handbook was in there, so I began reading it. Let me say right up the front that I really have no problem at all with the procedural portions of the manual, of the handbook. There's only one issue I have a problem with, and I'll cover that quickly. This is only going to take a couple of minutes. I apologize to those of you who are in the audience who don't have a copy of this, but all the council members do have copies. So in the policy handbook, there's a section B, a section C, and then it goes into all of the policies, or the procedures for how the library works. Section B is the Library Bill of Rights, and Section C is the Freedom to Read Statement. These have obviously been copied from other organizations and put into our handbook. My problem when I read this is that there appears to be nobody that seems to be doing anything to protect our young adults and our children. As I read this, and I'm only going to read one from each so that we can move right along. In the Library Bill of Rights, it says, in part, materials should not be excluded because of origin, background, or views of those contributing to their creation. In other words, anything can go into our public library. Pornography could go into our library. Bestiality books can go into our library. Child pornography probably could even make it into our library. I have several other things on that list that I also disagree with, but moving along. In the Freedom to Read statement, number 4 says, and I won't read the whole thing, but it says, to some, much of modern literature is shocking. This whole thing is kind of shocking, and I'll read on. Parents, teachers have a responsibility to prepare the young to meet the diversity of experiences in life to which they will be exposed, as they have a responsibility to help them learn to think critically for themselves. These, and this is the part that really got me, these are affirming responsibilities not to be discharged simply by preventing children from reading works for which they are not yet prepared. And I read that and I thought, who's watching, who's taking care of our children? Who's watching our children? So that, for me, that was the big one. But then in the back of the handbook, section 14, it talks about censorship and material reconsideration procedures. In other words, if you don't like a book, what is the policy for us to get rid of that book out of the library? It says material which is read by children and young people is the responsibility of, that doesn't have, okay, this is part of it, although it sounds like it's separate, but it's part of it. Materials which is read by children and young people is the responsibility of the parents or guardian. What if they're not there? The library staff does not have the right to restrict reading materials to others, or in other words, our children. The staff at the library basically says that they're not going to do anything if little Joe Blow at 7 years old is sitting over there looking at bestiality pictures in the books, and so there's that. Right? But the final thing is, how do we deal with it? And here's how we deal with it. Any citizen who wishes to have any library materials reconsidered is invited to request the proper form, and it's called a request for reconsideration of library materials, and answer the questions on the form, delivering it to the library director. Not a problem so far. The director will seriously re-examine the book in question, along with 1 or 2 staff members or experts in the library sciences from the county or the state. The evaluators will submit their decisions back to the library director, who will in turn notify the patron of the decision he's making. So my problem is the person that has put this before us and already has put these 2 doctrines in there is the one that's going to be the one responsible for approving these books. I personally have a problem with that. That needs to be done a different way. So, understanding that you've all read this, because it was in your package, realizing that we may want to consider this further, I would like to make a motion at this time to table this item until the next meeting, so we all have an opportunity to review it and maybe decide a better way rather than having these two documents added to our handbook, library handbook.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, which means that I have to cease any further conversation, correct, Mr.?
I will withdraw my motion.
Okay, well, let me ask Mr. Cooper
Okay.
that they would have to withdraw from any, further conversation, ask for a second. Mr. Armitage, Councilor Armitage has rescinded, is offering to rescind his motion so we can have any, because I want to make sure the rest of council can ask any questions. If there's a indication that we want to table this for more information, I want to make sure that everybody's concerns are heard, or that Mr. Solis, at recommendation of council, has an opportunity to explain this. So the motion's been rescinded. I'm gonna at this time ask council if there's anything that you'd like to have a discussion on, and then we'll maybe have Mr. Solis explain a few more things if we need to. Any further comments or questions for staff or the policy matters that Councilmember Armitage has brought up?
I'll make a couple of comments.
Okay.
I don't have an issue with tabling this, giving us more time to review it, because, to be honest with you, I didn't get to read in that depth that Mr. Armitage has. It sounds like it's something he's very passionate about. I don't think it's as big an issue as he feels it is, but I also don't want to take away from Mr. Solis, spending a lot of time on putting this together, and I don't think there's any ill intent from Mr. Solis on subjecting our children to
Yes.
bestiality books. That's ridiculous. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that.
Anyone else from council have any commentary on this before we start getting into action items?
I would also agree with what Vanessa said. I know many times when I worked for the county, we would share information from other departments, and I'm sure you probably did the same in Pinal County with the main library, if they have whatever, so we might have got that doctorate reading different libraries. So I think it is probably, like, actually, I didn't go into this depth as Mr. Armitage did, then maybe you might take a look at it, give us time to review it, you know, maybe can address it with some of the points that he made, so. He is very passionate, though, I understand that.
Anyone else on council?
And
Okay.
just to clarify, my concern is for the kids. That's my concern. That's all I care about. As adults, I don't care what you read. I don't care if you have a library at home full of any kind of books, witchcraft or anything. I don't care. What I care about is who's watching who's covering our kids, who's the gatekeeper for our children. That's what my concern is.
And I think we also have to bring up, there's a reference, there's policy in this policy that specifically talks about how parents, when they sign their children up for a library card, then take the responsibility for making sure that they know what their children are checking out. Children under the age of 10 years old are not even allowed to be in our library without permission, without a parent being there. And, you know, we're in.
Mayor, this policy states, all people, regardless of origin, age, or young people, background, or views, possess the right to privacy and confidentiality in their library use, meaning that a 7-year-old can go in there and his parents not even know he's there and be looking at material that clearly would be adult information.
And I understand when we get into the depths of these conversations. I think they are worthy conversations. That's why we're here to not only, you know, make sure that we're doing the right thing, but you also have to go back to understanding that you trust that most people are going to do the right things, that most parents are involved, and we have a very strict how children engage in our library and what are the requirements. And I think we have to trust our staff to do that and to manage these responsibilities. We've been running a library in this community for how many years now, Mr. Solis?
I was running it for maybe 2 years.
Yes,
I've
but
been,
how long is the history of our library?
1954.
1954, we've had a library in Superior that has been loved and cherished. When you get into this situation, we also know that the internet is accessed at our library, meaning that any child at any time, any person at any time can get into these situations. So I'm okay with tabling this. I don't know that we're going to get a whole lot of changes, and then, you know, into this policy and you know, as far as, because at some point we are required to probably meet certain rules so we can stay in the Pinal County Library System and the state library system. So we're going to table this and it's going to come back. I want those things explained as well.
And add something, as far as the internet, just so you know ahead of time, it's all, Pinal County Library IT is the one that has restrictions, in case you're wondering. They, on the internet, on all the PCs and on the Wi-Fi. Just so you know, if you have concerns right now at the moment about internet access, the Pinal County IT gets monitored and restricted by Pinal County IT.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is there any requirement for this bill, Library Bill of Rights and Freedom to Read statement? Is there any requirement for this to be in the manual?
In fact, I just put it in there because it was there last time.
But it's not a requirement.
It's not a requirement, that's what I'm aware of.
Okay.
I want to research that,
Okay,
for
sure.
sure.
Just a quick comment too, though, just to impose a little bit of level-headedness to the thing. Most of the books that Councilman Armitage is suggesting that children would have access to are not in our library. It would be a crime for them to be in our library. You can't have child porn in a library. You can't have child porn, period. Bestiality would be child endangerment. We don't have bestiality books in the library. So there is a, you know, the assumption that we've somehow stocked the shelves with a bunch of controversial things, that's not the facts. This says that we don't cherry pick, and that we don't say that because this book is proselytizing for the Book of Mormon, we won't allow it in. That would be censorship. That would be illegal. And that's what's good for the goose is good for the gander. As we see in the national stage, that if you can censor a book on transgender youth, you can censor a book you can censor the Bible, and that's where censorship is slippery slope. Setting that line is arbitrary. Setting that line is subjective, and that's why libraries generally don't set the line. They let the public decide what they want to read. Children cannot go in unescorted. It's not a daycare. It says that in there. Your child is supposed to be escorted at all times in the library. You're taking responsibility if you give your child a library card to make sure that they get the appropriate material. You don't have to give them a library card. You can go with them and check it out for them and make sure they're getting the things you want. So parents can't abrogate the responsibility to monitor their children's reading and their viewing on the internet at home, on their phones. That it's impossible for us to regulate the world. Parents have a great responsibility in that. And yes, we want to support them, but we don't want to take responsibility for being parents.
I don't have any control over what those kids do at home, what they do on their phone, what they do with their friends. I do have a responsibility as a council person to make a determination on what requirements that we have for young adult people to operate, to use the library, and to what they can and cannot see.
So the question would be, if we're saying children in the library aren't allowed to peruse all the books, so what if they wander into the romance section and pick up a Nora Roberts book? Is that appropriate for their age? Do we want the librarians following them around and slapping it out of their hand if they pick a book that is inappropriate? Or do we want their parent there, monitoring their behavior like it's supposed to be in the policy?
Well, I suppose, but doesn't it all come down to the fact that shouldn't we be providing some standard of protection for our young people in our library?
I believe that the standard of protection is set by the parental policies that are in place. And again, it comes back to, you know, the responsibility, and I'm sure that, I've been to our library many times, and I see how engaged our library director and his assistant is. I think they do a very good job at, you know, guiding our youth and everyone to find the resource materials that they need. And as Mr. Pryor mentioned, we would not even have a book, you know, bestiality and child pornography. That would be illegal for us to even maintain in our collection. Like, that isn't even really acquirable for a public library, so to say. And I want to just caution everybody that I honestly believe that our staff, our management staff that reviews this before we get this, and Mr. Solis, there's common sense in all of this. I honestly, you know, Mr. Solis, they're going to say, this is the children's section, you know, maybe mom or grandma was looking at the romance novels. That's not for us to decide what people read and don't read.
What is
Yeah,
the?
I don't care about adults. I frankly don't care. Go in there and read whatever you want. My problem is nobody is looking out for the children in this document. Nobody, there's nothing in here that protects our young people. Not one word.
Policy in the card when we get the library card?
If you read the full policy and you read children's access to the library, there is a parental responsibility. When you as a child under 18 cannot get a library card without their parental consent, meaning that the parent then decides, I am going to allow my child to go to the library and check out media. They cannot do that. They cannot even check out a book or come to a program if they are under 10 years old without a parent being present in the building. They have to have a parent or a guardian, an adult person. When my children were young and they went to library, we were big library fans, there were those rules. They were in place. You had to have those situations in place. Once they were 10 years old, then it's the parents, you know, they can go and check out books, but ultimately the parents are still responsible for what the children check out. They're responsible if the child destroys a book. They're responsible if a child does not return the book. There's a lot of protections for our children. And most importantly, I truly believe that our library people care about our kids and they see our kids. Our kids don't have access to a library at their public school. This is the only library they have access to. And I agree we can go back and we can table this. I would support tabling it because this has become a passionate conversation. But then I want to see real policy that explains it and figure out how we're going to, you know, really implement more protections for children. I think the policy spells it out.
And this is the first time I've heard any concern about it. Every person who's been into the library has not raised this issue at all. This is only the first time I've heard it, this concern about.
And Tony, the kids that are under 10, are they accompanied by parents, or are they just?
Usually a parent or a guardian, usually the parent, or usually the grandma, you know,
Because I know
grandparent.
sometimes you get a little busy at the front desk, and people,
Yeah.
if they're out, you know, as long as they have a parent with them, you know,
Sure.
they're covered, I would think.
I think, again, the problem we get run into is when they reach that age without the parent, like they reach over the age of 10.
Yeah. Then you
The
go in
parent
and out.
is not taking their kids to the library anymore. The kid is going, they're going on their own. Usually now, well, for doing homework. Do homework, that's probably the only quiet place they could go, to, you know, do that.
And unfortunately, because of the internet and everything is available on there, we don't have that many kids that go, people in general. You know, we don't have,
I mean,
but
except
still
for-
good to have policies
yeah.
like this in there to protect.
It's a demographic thing. The ones that are age of 10, they go into parent guardian. The ones who are, like, say, between the ages of, say, 11 and like a teenager, they go usually by themselves because the parent's not taking them. They kind of, at some point, they're not part of the whole, this term is lifelong learning. This is the one place, we send our kids to school, right? But this is the one time a parent to be there from the time they're born, they can be guiding them from the easy kids section to the chapter book, the juvenile. The parent should be there. Well, then maybe the big issue is, how do we get the parents as a community to, for the moment, you know, they're old enough to, like, say, have a toddler, so story time. Maybe the discussion should be, how can the parents be more involved in the kids, in the life, being part of the process of lifelong learning? From the moment they get their first board, all the way to.
And that's a challenge.
Exactly, that's the challenge. Maybe that's the issue we should be addressing.
Well,
That way we don't have to, if they think they'll make their, okay, I'm gonna get on my soapbox for a second. If your parents can take the time to take their kids to practice or a game, how much time, I mean, it only takes about what? Half an hour. How long does it take to take a kid or to get them a library book? How much time is spent rather than, but they spend a lot of time, they have no problem taking their kid to a practice or to their game. But how much time are they devoting to being a responsible parent? And I've heard from grandparents who have kids who are, they're behind in their reading. Their reading level is suffering, especially since COVID. How about we just that issue?
Yeah,
What do parents do?
and Mr. Solis, thank you very much for bringing that to a point. One of the discussions in the league conference was the actual education crisis that our state is facing because our children are not reading at the appropriate level. But we're off the agenda subject now. Is there any further questions or comments from council before we call for motions or votes? Anybody have anything else?
I'd just like to know, from the council, I'm gonna vote against it, if it goes to a vote tonight. Does anybody wanna take the time to read these things and see what it really says?
Yeah,
I
on the
would
table.
like to table it.
Yeah, we can have it.
Okay, well, somebody needs to make an appropriate motion, and
I
I do want to reference, while I, reread some of the other points of the of the policy to bring up our youth access to the library. At no time do I think anyone on this council wants to endanger children or does not want to protect children. So I don't want to make that a one versus the other conversation in here, but I do want to make sure that we look at this with common sense and the other pieces of policy that make that, some of the more broader terms in there, put the teeth to it. So at that point, do we have a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to table, item 8.
There is a motion by Councilmember Armitage to table consent agenda item 8 with a second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I'm a nay. All right, we're gonna move forward to new business.
Did you get the vote?
Public hearing,
There was a split
discussion,
vote?
and
Mayor?
What?
Question, there was a split vote. The state law now requires us to do roll call votes on split votes.
okay, let's pretend I didn't nay it, so it's unanimous.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go through that. I was just making my own personal point, so. It's a little extra work for everybody. Okay, public hearing, discussion, possible approval of Arizona Department of Liquor License application for Family Dollar located at 580 West US Highway 60, Superior, Arizona. The agent is Rafael Galvin Jr. Is there anyone here from Family Dollar to present on this? All right, hearing none. A hearing on a liquor license application will be held before the Town of Superior Town Council. The local governing board should grant or deny the license. The state liquor board may hold a hearing to consider the recommendations of the local governing body pursuant to ARS 4-201. The hearing notice was posted for at least 20 days in a conspicuous place on the premises proposed by the licensed by the applicant. Mr. Bontes, did we have any public comments that came from that?
No, we didn't.
There was no public comments. Is there anyone in the public right now wishing to address this application for this public hearing? All right. Yes.
To all the Family Dollar sell liquor?
I recently saw where the city of Globe was passing the same liquor ordinance, so I think it's a new thing that Family Dollar is doing. I encourage all of you to read up on Family Dollar and their effects on rural America and their insistence that they are a grocery store, but that's a whole other conversation. With that being said, do we, unless there's last call for public comments on this? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the Arizona Department of Liquor License application for Family Dollar?
Mayor, we do have to close the public hearing.
Oh, okay, the public hearing is now closed. Do we have a motion? There's a motion by Councilmember Lopez. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Aguilar. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. All right, everybody, now you can go, you'll be able to go to Family Dollar and pick up all your things and get your beer. Yep, you can pick up all the things while you're there, some dog food, milk, and whatever else. Okay, our next item tonight is a discussion and town council direction on rental of Bessich building to Resolution Copper Mining. And that's the Bessich building that's located at the old high school multi-generational center that we're rehabilitating. Some of the discussion for the public, Resolution Copper has expressed an interest in renting the southernmost building on the old high school campus for a limited period. They would complete renovations to the building to add bathrooms and cooling. The town does not have an immediate plan to use this building, and there is no funding to remodel it at this time. So this proposal would not impede any of our plans. This is only a tentative discussion, and the manager is asking direction from council if they would like to pursue it. So council, this is again one of those bigger discussions that we need to discuss very openly and transparently. The multi-gen center has been a big project for us. We do not have a major plan for it. And one of the things that's happening for Resolution is they are very much, they're outgrowing their space that they need for communities and communication staff. Their Main Street office is really not giving them the space they need to operate correctly, or operate efficiently, not correctly, but efficiently. So they would like to, they need another space. And they're also at a point that, they have a budget that they have to maintain for this. They have to look at this, and they've come to us and asked us to consider this because they need to start moving, but they're also not at a phase in the project that they can build a brand new building, which is what they're going to need to do. They anticipate that maybe in 5 to 10 years, they are going to need to build something like on their property that will be obviously even more useful to their operations.
So when it says a campus for a limited period, will it be 5 to 10 years? Is that what
5 to 10 years.
Isn't this something we've been asking for? I mean, for them to be a part of the town, and that's what they're trying to do. To me, that's what they're doing, so.
Well, I don't know that, I think we've done a very great job as a council to make sure that Resolution's much more engaged in all of our projects, from our water projects and park projects and economic development. They're doing a really great job. And this is really more of like us deciding to lease our property to a company. Like, let's take the community relationship out of this. This is no different than AZ Strut or Aerial Engagement renting classrooms here at the Roosevelt in a lot of ways. We went through a lease agreement, but for Todd to really start negotiating and really working with Resolution, because this is going to be a lot more construction that has to be done, he needs some forward direction from council. In other words, we can't send him down the road to do all this work and then council be like, oh, absolutely not, we don't want that. He just needs some direction.
Well, I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, if we don't have immediate use for the building and they're gonna do the renovations to it, I feel like it's kind of a win-win. So,
I make a motion.
Well, we don't have it, this isn't having action, so it's just
yeah.
having some discussion so Todd can formulate, starting to move that process forward.
I think you should move the process forward.
Okay, I will do that. To be clear, we're still doing due diligence on both sides, so I just didn't want to get too far down the road where there would be some random rumor coming out that we were negotiating on it without discussing it with the council.
Yeah, or that, now, we know how things go, it's just the Bessich building, which they would pretty much be contained in their own offices there.
And it's the least improved of the building. It's the newest, but it has no bathrooms, it has had no work done to it. We have no plans to do anything with it. I don't have any money to do anything with it. So it's not like it's putting us on, making us do anything with it that we'll regret later. It's just an empty building.
Is there anyone who has any other comments or questions about this before we move forward to the next agenda item?
Will we have any say in the renovations that they make?
Yes. Well, they'll have to get a permit. They'll have to run the plans by us. It will still have a lease agreement, so we'll put all that into the lease agreement, saying we have the same agreement essentially with Safety Miners. If you remember, down at the far end of this building, we gave them the rent was tenant improvements, and then we approved the changes they made. They went and renovated that whole wing, which is why it's so useful to us now.
Okay. Todd, another thing for your to-do list.
Can I make a comment? Make sure you keep us involved with all the plans for that, for the fire department. I don't know, access to that's very, one real limited, so just keep us in mind.
Well, I'm sure that'll be addressed in their building plans and whatnot, and what they need for fire suppression.
The fire marshal does review and approve our plans. It will have a problem because it doesn't have a fire hammerhead, which is a phrase where the truck can turn around up there. So we'll have to, there is other access to that area within 300 feet, so it's probably a solvable problem, but we'll have to go over it with the fire marshal.
Lots of work to be done. Another action item on your to-do list, Mr. Pryor. Thank you. Again, we're moving on to agenda item C, discussion possible appointment of planning and zoning commissioners. This is a council appointed position. Some discussion, the terms of 6 planning zoning commissioners have expired and 1 has passed away. We need to fill a total of 7 positions, and applicants are attached. I believe we have the applications also in print here. We have some new applicants on the list. We have Mary Ann Bell. We have Robert Bell. Joy Eveland, who has been serving on planning and zoning for many years. Hank Gutierrez, who has also been serving for at least 4 years, I believe. Jed Lant, who is very familiar with zoning, who's a former town employee. He's interested in serving. Lindsay Lance, another resident of Superior. Matt Mashaw, who has been our current chair and has served for a very long time on planning and zoning, probably knows more about their procedures than all of us in a lot of ways. And Henry Munoz, another local resident in Superior, and he has also been serving for at least probably the last 6 years or so, I believe. Council, we can do this and appoint all 7 people. If you want to leave certain people on there and appoint like a few more, that we have some vacancies, this is up for council discussion.
I do have one question.
Yes.
I was just curious why all the terms are up at once.
During
Do we need a step?
During COVID, we should have replaced some when we didn't during the COVID shutdowns. We
So when
let it
we
go
do
too
this
long.
cycle, is it possible to stagger?
Yes, I was going to suggest that we would give 3 or 4 of them a 4-year term, and then 3 or 4 of them a 2-year term.
And I think there's 7 positions, but there's 8 applicants.
I have a question on the 2 that are related. Is that going to be any conflict to serve together?
I personally do not think that husband and wife should be serving on the same council, regardless of committee, council, or whatever it is. That's my personal.
As far as legal opinion, we could ask our attorney whether it's a nepotism issue.
Yeah, I did want to ask Cooper about that, because I know in certain situations you can't have that.
Mayor, council members, technically it's not a conflict of interest or a nepotism issue, because there is no financial compensation for them to serve. Nepotism would be that you'd hire a relative and that you're working under them. But certainly it is something to consider, that if you wanted, whether or not you wanted to have a husband and wife, because that could be disproportionate voting on a council matter, and you might save the community a divorce or 2 after the meeting, or who's going to sleep on the couch, because sometimes they get to be pretty heated.
any further questions or comments? So we need to have what, 4 with 4-year terms and 2 with, or and 3 with 2-year terms?
Or versa versa, whatever the council prefers.
And doing that, I also do think that we should stagger the,
Spouses.
well, not only the spouses, because there's 8, right? So there's
So you have
one
experience.
per, if we are gonna consider all of these, or do 7 of 8 of these, one person out, so we can maybe determine who that is. But not only that, I think it would be a good idea for, since we're gonna stagger, I think the 4 that are returning applicants, I think we need to stagger them.
Okay.
A suggestion would be that you make, if you do, the council can choose to nominate, the list and come up to the total number of 7. You could go 6 tonight, you don't have to nominate all of them tonight. You could, I would suggest you do it as 2 batches, one a 4-year batch and one a 3-year batch, just so that the clerk can more easily capture them.
We could appoint the 7 and, then just draw and be like, this person got 4 and this person got 2. I've seen that happen before on other boards where it's like, oh, we got to draw the lucky 4. I mean, we could do something like that. My recommendation to the board would be that we appoint Mary Ann Bell, Bob Bell, Joy Evelyn, Hank Bukaris, Jed Lance Lindsay, and Matt Mashaw to serve on planning and zoning.
I so move.
There's a second by Councilmember Armitage. Can you rescind your second, because I wasn't quite done yet?
I will rescind my second.
Yes, no, I want to appoint the people that I mentioned, Mary Ann, Bob, Joy, Hank, Jed, Lance, and Matt, with us, the council, drawing who is gonna serve the 4-year and 2-year terms. That way it's kind of blind. It's like, we're not getting in that situation. But,
So you have a motion, so I can ask a question.
well,
Can I ask a question?
you
about
can
your
ask a
motion?
question, because I think it's,
So out of the 8, we're not moving to select San Munoz, is that correct?
that's correct. He's the only one that's,
May I ask, is there a reason?
based
or
on just
based
the
on-
qualifications that are out there right now, that, the people that are interested in serving, I think it's very, imperative that we appoint people that are really ready to put some real work into planning and zoning, and we've had issues with quorum. And this has been an ongoing issue where we haven't been able to have that, and there's been a lot of issues when our planning and zoning commissioners get tied up because they can't make a decision, and then it bogs council down in certain respects, and that's why that was the basis of my
Okay.
preference.
Yeah,
of those
that's
7.
good to know, because
Yeah. So that's my,
And that's
7.
6, I think you counted off, didn't you?
No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7.
Oh, yeah, you said that one.
Yes. So Mary Ann Bell, Bob Bell, Joy Evelyn, okay, I'm
I
gonna,
would make a motion.
let me,
Go ahead.
so I have had a motion on the floor that we appoint these 7 people with the next action that council takes is determine who gets 4-year and 2-year terms, and we can discuss how we want to do that. So my motion stands as we appoint the following people: Mary Ann Bell, Bob Bell, Joy Evelyn, Hank Bukaris, Jed Lance Lindsay, and Matt Mashaw to serve on planning and zoning. Following that motion, then we will discuss how we want to give them 4-year or 2-year terms. And we can make another motion on that.
I make a motion
Well, I made a motion.
Sure,
I made the
you have
motion.
to
I made the motion. I'm setting the action.
to, I second that motion.
Then Mr. Armitage has seconded the motion.
I
All,
misunderstood.
it's okay, cause I don't make motions a lot, but we gotta keep this moving.
No, you really threw me with that.
You know, I gotta keep it real, Bruce, gotta keep it real, and we're excited meeting today. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now, our next point of discussion is who gets what terms?
I like your idea about putting them in the hat, pulling your first four before and then the two.
I like that idea too, I think it keeps us from, voluntolding anybody that they have to have
I think we ought to do,
rock, paper, that'll take too long, Gilbert, there's a lot of lying out there, and it'll just give you the arm wrestle for it.
Gotta write them down.
Yeah, I think we should just do it tonight so we can let them know.
I think Ruby's preparing.
I love
Renee,
that,
good
that
job.
sense of like,
As we speak.
how exciting is this gonna be? Amy's gonna draw, and Bruce will be the people who will draw. So, Amy, you draw for the 4-year terms, and Bruce, you get to draw for 2-year terms.
Sorry for anybody that didn't want a 4-year term now.
They're not here, so it's fine.
To formalize the way we're saying this, is we are randomizing the.
Randomizing the order, yes. You don't have to put that,
Draw them out of a hat.
it's like a raffle.
I say we put their first names in alphabetical order and then their 4-year, 2-year, 4-year.
Well, wait, we didn't even make a motion on it, so you could suggest that too. So, does somebody want to make a motion that we're gonna randomly draw?
We're gonna make a motion that we randomly draw the names for your 2 years.
Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Byrd, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, council members, after you do that and you've selected them, could we have one more motion to have the 4-year term, name them, and then the 2-year term,
Yes.
those 3?
Okay. This is a very so much anticipation in this meeting, we're having a great time.
It's like a lottery,
Yes, like the lottery, like who won a 4-year term? Yes.
Huh?
This morning.
4, they can select that and then make a motion.
We're almost there, friends.
2 years.
2-year term. 4 and 2.
I'm gonna turn this off. I don't think the vice mayor is joining us. I can still hear this music in the background and it's.
And to make a request, when you do make your final motion, can we make the terms terminate the same time council terms terminate? So, we start next year, we've got an election cycle. At the end of the calendar year, we select the new planning and zoning commissions, just so we have a regular time to do it, rather than doing it
Do
whenever.
you want them to terminate with council terms?
Well, we could do council terms, which would mean it'd be a 3-year term, and then and then a 5-year term, or we could do just at the end of the calendar year for 2 years and 4 years. I don't know, it just makes it harder. We need a regular time, because we're not, because they are all different random times when they join the committee, they're very difficult to track. It'd be better if they had a regular term, just like council did.
Okay.
So you're saying if it's a 4-year term, they'll start now, but officially it'll be like in January?
Yeah, we reconsider and reappoint every January for
Then we
anybody who's
should
been
do,
termed.
then I was thinking maybe doing 2 and 3-year terms would be, because a 4-year term is basically, what is this, July? No, that would be fine. Yeah, that would be all right.
Okay.
Do we need a drum roll?
Yes, go ahead. Yes. Go ahead. 4 years.
Due to the motion
I'm right.
picture strike, this is probably the Oscars.
So, 4-year terms, Joy Evelyn. Lance. Matt Ashaw.
Looking at.
And Amy Terrace. And then, so the other 3 are, 2 years.
I thought I was gonna get to draw the junior.
Who's left?
No, I'm just kidding.
Feel free.
So then the husband and wife.
Okay, so then that would leave Mary Ann Bell, Bob Bell, and Jed Lant on 2-year terms. All right. So do we have a motion to appoint Joy Evelyn, Hank Gutierrez, Lance Lindsay, and Matt Mashaw to 4-year terms of the Planning and Zoning Commission to begin their terms? How do you want me to coincide with election?
We're renewing at the end of the calendar year of the year of their appointment.
Renewing at the calendar year of the year they're appointed. So, Amy, do you make that motion?
Yes.
Okay, Amy makes the motion. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Armitage. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we need a motion to appoint Mary Ann Bell, Bob Bell, and Jed Lant to 2-year terms. So moved. There's a motion by Councilmember Armitage, second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Well, that was a lot of fun. All right. Government, and policy and discussion, possible approval of equipment lease purchase agreement between Community First National Bank and the Town of Superior for a purchase of a 2016 Ford F-450 ambulance. Staff recommends this purchase. R631 is at the end of its service life. It is a 2001 Ford F-350 with approximately 300,000 miles. This purchase would supply a newer backup vehicle built on more modern standards. Fiscal impact, the down payment is $7,900, and the 3 yearly payments would be $25,619.05. This would be paid out of the emergency services contract. Any questions for staff or comments from council?
I do have a question. So I'm not quite clear, this is a true lease where after the 3 years we're giving it back, or it's like a rent to own?
It's a lease purchase. We're purchasing it. We will own it at the end of the 3 years.
Wait, say that again?
We will own it at the end of the 3
We
years.
will own it, okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make absolutely sure. Okay.
And we have also put in a request with Gila River Fire Department. They are going to be retiring some 2019s, and they've put us at near the top of the list to get that because our lieutenant is the ex-chief for Gila Police Department. So he worked that request for us. So hopefully we'll get a newer backup. Right now we're having problems with the almost $300,000 ambulance we purchased. It's been in and out of the shop almost constantly with unknown engine management codes, and we have not been, the dealer and a separate contractor have not been able to correct those codes. So it is in the shop constantly, so we're running the old backup way too much. So this has become a very important purchase so that we can get it in hand as soon as possible.
I move to approve the equipment lease purchase agreement between Community First National Bank and the Town of Superior for purchase of 2016 Ford F-450 ambulance.
I have a question. Can I ask the chiefs?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this?
We do need this ambulance. Our restaurant now has holes in it. Dodge cannot figure it out. It's not a lot of money trying to figure it out. It hasn't happened. It's safe to drive, not a drivability issue, but it comes to performance wise of the ambulance. That's an issue right now that we're looking into. And our old ambulance is very old, and we need a newer one back us up. But there's been times that I've been out of service for 2 weeks, and we need something reliable. Because our whole rest of 631 it seems it's time for us.
On those grounds, I'll second.
Okay, so the motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, staff. I know you guys have been working urgently on that. Todd was very busy at the league trying to get all that stuff figured out. Discussion possible approval of the architect agreement between Carl Kilgore and the town of Superior. This is action item number 5. This contract is phased to match the funding and phasing of the multi-gen project. The phases are designed to make sure that the most important pieces of the project are prioritized, and we do not spend all the money up front on engineering and use too much of that available budget. Fiscal impact, this is a zero match grant through USDA. Phase 1 will be the gym AC improvements, which is issued and not in this particular scope of work. Phase 2, administrative offices, gym, exercise and restrooms, cardio and weight training, the main data frame and security, IT and security. Phase 3 is the ADA improvements, elevator, wheelchair lift, ramps. Phase 4 is the senior center, commercial kitchen. Phase 5, enterprise and innovation center. Phase 6, library. Phase 7, main high school building corridors and level 2 multi-purpose rooms. Phase 8, dance studios, and we do have the exhibits in there, so each of these contracts break out with the first phase being $111,507. Phase 2 is that much. Phase 3 is $121,452. Phase 4 is $70,303. Phase 5 is $68,972. Phase 6 is $59,616. Phase 7 is $54,228. And phase 8 is $33,956 for a total of $520,034. And we need to get this contract approved so we can start drawing down our USDA money. Is there a motion on the floor? There's a motion by Councilmember Lopez. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Aguilar. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 6, discussion and possible approval of contract between Comfort Systems and the town of Superior for air conditioners for the high school gym. Staff recommends approving this agreement. Comfort Systems was selected as the low bidder on this RFP and worked with the town to design a system to meet the budget. This is a zero match grant, but this agreement will cost $5,000 over the approved grant amount. The total price is $196,213, and I think Todd shared that it's 30 weeks out so we can get the equipment that we need, correct?
They have respec'd some of the
good.
equipment so we can get the air conditioners in faster. With the caveat that electrical equipment is a year out. So we will have air conditioners on the roof with no electrical plugged to them. That's just the craziness on how you get federal funding, because we've got this, we have the money, we have to spend it within a certain amount of time, we've got to put the air conditioners on.
Can we run extension cord?
Yeah, we'll
I'm sure
bungee
the fire
cord into
marshal
the
will allow it.
But there is, the follow-up, we'll be getting power run to the building, we're gonna use USDA funding for that, but we still have to order that equipment, and again, a year out. And that's with a redesign, it was 72 weeks before they redesigned.
All right, council, do a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Lopez, is there a second? Second by Councilmember Byrd, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That concludes our new business for the meeting. We'll move on to call to the public. Is there anyone who has signed in for call to the public?
He signed in, but I don't know.
Oh, you don't have anything to say? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address council? All right, hearing none, I'm just gonna move right along. Last call. You say something before I switch my paper over.
Last call, wrong call.
There's no need. You go to Family Dollar after the meeting. We have no executive session items. We have no further regular session items. Summary of current events. Councilmember Byrd.
Just thank you to the staff for all the work that you've done. This is a big confirmation, there was a lot of work involved with the wastewater treatment plant, a lot of other moving items, and just want to say thank you for that. Hope to see everybody at the events coming up.
Councilmember Armitage.
Just in recognition of the fact that we now have ambulatory service in the town that's paid for by the town. I'd like to see that information get disseminated out there.
Talking the helicopter.
Yeah, helicopter air vac service. The town is providing that for town people. I think that's important to get that information out there, just so that people know. Also, which was in the consent agenda, was the fact that we now have a sister, or we're working towards having a sister city in Mexico. And I think that's kind of neat, you know, it's kind of neat. We have to still look at what all of our, dotting our i's and crossing our t's, but I just think I think that's a great idea. I don't know if you thought about it. Great idea. And, that's all.
Councilman Lopez?
Talking about the sister thing, we did it before and we didn't do it before.
Oh, we did
So
it before.
hopefully we don't drag
This
our
time?
feet and just hop on and just get it done. Yeah. No, I really don't have anything. 20 years have really gone by a lot faster than I thought it would. It's been fun and I enjoyed it. Got one more year and then I'm gone. And then just remember everybody that there's a fiesta in town this weekend. The kids are playing football and volleyball and, you know, get out there and support them.
Councilmember Navarrete?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Councilmember Aguilar?
I don't have anything either.
All right, well, I just want to thank council. I appreciated that we had a very robust meeting, and I always appreciate that at the end of the day, we walk out doing what we need to do for our community and our people. It's kind of like the party of Superior, which I explained to one of our residents earlier today. And actually, on the sister city thing, the Mexican consulate, who we have entertained before, reached out to us, and they found a city that wanted to be our sister city. And so it's been quite the process. Next week, we all go and meet with the governor to talk about our international trade and the relationships that they're hoping to build with Sonora, Mexico. And we are fortunate to be one of the communities that were selected, and I hope this is the first of many sister cities that we can have, because we should probably have some in other communities across the globe. With that being said, I will go over thank you all. Enjoy all the fun events coming up, and don't forget State of the Town. Mr. Pryor, do you have anything? Because we're just really ready to adjourn. Scheduling of meetings and events. Emergency Services Committee is September 21st at 6 p.m. Community Development Committee, September 28th, 2023, 6 p.m. Planning and Zoning meeting, there will be no October meeting, and the Town Council meeting is October 12th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Lopez. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Byrd. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:18.
Yay, play ball.